non-binary people in Romania and Scotland. Actually living Outwith the binary in Scotland and Romania. Now, firstly, some context about about me. Well, what inspired this? I'm very queer, and I've been born in Romania, and I was closeted for 2 years from the age of 16 to 18 because of the living conditions of queer people in Romania. And when I came here, I became open about my identity, and I am part of the non-binary community, and so I have awareness of both the experiences of Romanian individuals non-binary individuals in Romania and in Scotland to a degree. And so this is what actually inspired me to make this study. Now, it might be a bit, I have to bias check because I'm part of the community. And so one of the things I did to check my bias was to not assume the feelings of the participants concerning the topics which might have been presented within the questionnaire, and only look at what they explicitly said and not what they might have implicitly thought. But I did use my knowledge and my experience within the community to, if there was a case in which the participants implicitly said something, to look at it and see what was it that they said. This was not the case for most of the time because they were very explicit with their responses. There's some definitions. The spectrum was defined within the literature, the non-binary spectrum was defined within the literature as a phenomenon of gender bounded destruction in the world of gender binary. It originated in the 1990s in the work of transgender authors and consists of a multitude of diverse, fixed and fluctuating gender identities, such as gender queer, gender fluid, gender neutral, androgynous, non-binary, and so forth. And it challenges the idea and assumption that gender identity is a fixed concept for the existence of gender fluidity. Now, a little bit about the situation in Scotland first, and then Romania afterwards. Transphobic hate crimes have risen up to 87% in Scotland in 2022, as opposed to 2021. And 57% of young Scottish transgender students experienced bullying in 2022, of course. This was reported in the ILGA Europe report on transgender and queer and general issues of 2022. And of course, we all know about the Gender Recognition Act, which was adopted by the Scottish Government and was blocked by the UK Government in December 2023. Now, the situation in Romania, I could not find something for transgender individuals in Romania, and so I have to report on queer people in general. They face lack of basic needs, and so they have to go to LGBT associations to get these needs. Prides have been threatened, they've been bomb threats, they've been attacked with eggs, with gas bombs. Police have refused to collect data on sexuality and gender identity hate crimes. The Romanian Senate and other bodies adopt legislation which enforces heteronormativity, and this is only stopped when the EU governmental bodies intervene. 1 in 3 university students hear anti-queer hate speech coming from a professor. 4 in 5 transgender students have their identity disrespected by university staff, and information on LGBT issues in general events in universities is almost non-existent. The current study used a questionnaire, 68 open-ended questions on things such as identity, euphoria, dysphoria, and harassment. It was translated into Romanian and English, and it was active between November 2022 and January of this year. It was stopped because for the last 2 weeks of the questionnaire, I did not get any participants. And I collected 13 participants, 5 of which were from Romania and 8 from Scotland. These are named, if you read the dissertation, these are named as Romanian participants and Scotland participants because I did not collect demographic information on their nationalities. And because 2 of the Scottish participants are non-natively Scottish as their responses. Thematic analysis was used to help with the existing broad themes which I've covered in the questionnaire. 7 themes were found, 18 sub-themes, 9 of which were shared and 9 of which were split between one or the other groups. And for the current research, we seek to enrich and help with the almost non-existent knowledge on non-binary Romanian individuals, especially. The themes were such: discovery, the discovery of one's identity. Impact of the discovery was the aftermath of discovery. Euphoria were feelings of elation due to one's aspects which fit their self-mental image. Dysphoria and harassment, dysphoria is the reverse. Harassment talks about when one is harassed or hate crimes are inflicted upon another. Coming out is the event of a person, the non-binary person, telling another their identity, their gender identity. And the local queer community talks about the offline interruptible local queer community. All of these themes here, we found that they make a nice little framework called Gender Identity Journey, GIJ, which is the progression path timeline that non-binary goes through concerning their identity. And so they discovered that identity, which goes into the aftermath of the discovery, so impact of the discovery, which goes into euphoria and dysphoria and harassment concerning the identity and how they view themselves, and into coming out, which is the event. But as you can see here, some of the lines are dotted. Dotted are conditional. That it means that for example, coming out in local queer community. It means that coming out was dependent on something else than going to the local queer community theme. And then that happens the same with the local queer community discovery, whereas one person may be an ally to the queer community, and then for the fact that they're an ally, might discover that they are non-binary themselves. Within this, you may see one other theme which I haven't mentioned, which is androgyny, or the desire for, the aspiration to, and feeling of androgyny, and I've named this DAFA. This is not part of the gender identity journey because we did not find this for all the participants that that they desired androgyny, and because it does not influence the others if androgyny is not perceived as a preference by the participants themselves or the individuals. But if it is perceived as a preference, it influences all the other themes, such as a person may discover their identity through the fact that they see androgynous people. Then, as they get more acquainted with androgyny, this may impact the discovery. Euphoria may be because they do not see themselves, they see themselves as androgynous enough. Dysphoria is the reverse, where they might not see themselves as androgynous enough. Harassment they may be harassed because they are looking androgynous, and so people that are homophobic may actually harass them, not transphobic. Coming out, one of the individuals within one of the responders actually said that they are not ready to come out because they do not look androgynous enough, or stereotypically non-binary. And the LQC is influenced because other people within the queer community might perceive androgyny as preferable, and so you might see people in the queer community being androgynous. This goes back to discovery, as people that are allies might discover that they are to prefer androgyny and non-binary through this field. And these are other references. Questionnaire. I made the questionnaire because there was no resource available of existing resource within the literature to tackle non-binary people specifically. They were for sexualities, gay, lesbian, bisexual, but they were not adequate when it comes to gender identity. The language that I use. Specifically, not assume anything about their feelings, because I use a more neutral language. For Romanian, because it's a gendered language, I had to use all the masculine, feminine, neutral, gender neutral, which is a new concept within the language. And I did them open-ended questions because this would mean I wanted to say something more than just yes or no. And so I wanted to extract as much information as possible from the participants themselves to fit within this.
Are there any other questions? Yeah.
So was the questionnaire given online?
Yes, it was for GISC.
Sorry?
It was for GISC. It's a platform. It's an online question platform.
So yeah, so online, and then it wasn't like the data wasn't collected like through interviews. It was just like the question.
Yeah, it was just the questionnaire.
Text data in it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Another question following from that. I'm just kind of curious. How big was the data?
Depends. So participant usually, excluding the participant, the consent form which was included within the questionnaire, will be about 8 pages
Okay.
for each participant. Some had more pages than the others because they said more things. Specifically, the Romanian participants were more eager to tell about their experiences than Scotland participants.
Interesting.
Any other questions?
Yeah. When you were finding out about like crimes and like bullying, like was that based on like the participants you inquired and what they told you, or?
Yeah, it was a section which was on harassment and dysphoria, and in the section of harassment, one of the questions was, could you give me an example of a time when you were harassed or something of the sort happened to you?
Okay.
Is it okay to ask one more question?
Yeah.
I'm just very fascinated by this. See, what was the right? So when you decided on the topics of the questionnaire, did you kind of just you thought that maybe these topics would be the easiest to kind of let this, let the kind of their experience flow, or did you already have an idea of making essentially a framework, the framework that you introduced before? The identity.
They were based on my experiences and based on kind of a timeline. So I first started with identity, asking them about their identity, and then with coming out, and if they've come out to somebody, if they've not come out, and then asked a bit more personal kind of hard question, which might inflict some sort of, I wouldn't say damage, but like inflict some sort of bad memories, essentially, such as dysphoria and harassment. And then went on with euphoria so that they would forget about this, whatever they thought of when it comes to harassment. And then went on to local queer community because that's one of the last things I thought about would be relevant when it comes to all of this.
Feel free to ask one more.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, because as well, I actually was thinking for my dissertation as well to try and do something around non-binary community, but I kind of had to decide against it because it is still kind of, understood as a vulnerable population. So how did you go about kind of, how did you safeguard against any kind of harm?
I had a lot of links to mental health services, especially for queer people.
Yeah.
Which I gathered. In Romania, there are not many, and this is one of the limitations of the study, that because of the Romanian participants, the Romanian people in Romania are not open about this. So all the people that gathered were already volunteers. At the non-binary Romanian participants were volunteers.
In a queer kind of community.
Because it is such a restricted kind of sample.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to get, even for me being from Romania. And so how I went about this was that I went with 5 and the 8, and the 8 ones are more diverse in the views. What was the question again?
Just how do you safeguard against any kind of
safeguard, right.
ethical, any kind of harm answering the question?
Yeah, there were links to a lot of LGBT and queer organizations.
Right. Okay.
Perfect. That's probably the question we have time for. So thank you very much. Robert, that was great.